Yes, I am hoovering the booth. Before every job the hoover is brought out, we run it over the whole booth. The cleaner the booth, the cleaner the job. It's the attention to detail that separates good painters from bad ones. So the damage on this one was quite minor. Needed a lower trim panel replacing and a small repair to the bottom of the door. I'll be keeping the repair area small, allowing blends on the single panel. I didn't get any video of the repair, but I did take a few still images which I've added here. We used our PPG DigiMatch camera to match the colour, and I've added some footage of the process of us checking the colour on the PPG TouchMix Ultra. So I always do a search of the whole system against all makes and colours just to see how good a match we can get, possibly using another colour. If we can't get a good match on the correct one, sometimes this works. It does feel a bit alien painting it the wrong colour, but on occasion doing exactly that has saved us a headache on certain colours and certain jobs. So this one's a Kia, but the best match was actually the Porsche. So on this one, the colour is True Red and the code is AA9, and it's actually come out with a decent match which was rated an 8. Anything under 10 is good, and the lower the number the better, 1 being the best. Anything above a 10, and that's when I'll look at other colour options. So on the new TouchMix Ultra, it creates a digital spray out card. On the left of it is the camera colour that you've actually taken with your camera, and on the right hand side is the closest shade the system's found. On this occasion it's L×2 and is green on both contrast and coarseness of the metallic, so it's a pretty good match. And you can check various things such as face, flash, flop, and then some light gun options as well. I was very sceptical at first, but I found it to be very accurate. If I have one gripe about this system, it's when you're switching between the shades and checking them, the system's quite slow to load. It takes around 20 to 30 seconds to switch between each shade, so there is some waiting time. But I'd say it's worth that waiting time with what you can save by making sure you've got the right colour. As you can see, you can rotate the card, you can switch between the options. When you're rotating them, obviously you can see whether you've got a good match or a bad match at different angles, different light. It's a really good system, and it's obviously the first iteration of this system, so I dare say with updates over the coming months it probably will get better. So having chosen the colour, let's move on to the actual mixing. So we changed on to PPG Envirobase around 4 months ago, and it was mainly to have all the approvals for insurance work with our materials, obviously as well as having the new mixing computer. I'd had that demoed and I decided I wanted it. We were using MaxMayer Aquamax at that point, but the new computer wasn't available on the MaxMayer scheme, so I quickly made the decision and upgraded to the Envirobase. I'm glad I did. Even with the increased costs, I also switched our Clearcoat to PPG Deltron 8131. It's by far the best clear I've used, and I've used a few prior which I thought were good, such as MaxMayer 0300, Spectral 545 Low Bake, but this Deltron 8131 is so good and is now my go-to clear for everything. It's by far better than anything I've used before, and price point wise it's on a par with the Spectral, but is way better than it. When Max changed the 0300 to the 0320, I'd tried one kit of that and I really didn't get on with it, and that's why I switched to the Spectral. But now the Deltron is what I use, and it's what I'll use going forward. I can't see me changing in the near future for that at all. So recently DeVilbiss released a limited edition DV1 spray gun, and I had to have it. It's the Gambler Edition, but it was for the USA market only and was only available at SEMA as a competition win. They were raffling one off each day of SEMA. My UK rep basically gave me a flat no, couldn't supply me one, they're not for the UK market. I don't like taking no for an answer, and I managed to get one eventually. It was hard work, but I have it. This was the first job that I used it for. It's the same as my previous base coat gun. I had a normal DV1 for base, but I just needed this Gambler Edition. Cost was kinda irrelevant. We're now in the booth doing some masking, soft edging the doors and getting it sheeted with poly. Keeping it a fairly local repair, so blending on the one panel. Now for keen-eyed people, or not even keen-eyed people, I was concentrating so much on doing the video, I forgot to tape the top of the poly to the tape at the top of the door. Silly error, nothing a bit of cleaning and that couldn't sort after unmasking, but you'll see it lifting later in the video, and how I missed it I have no idea, as I saw it straight away on watching the footage back. So we use Q1 masking tape, found it to be very reliable, nice and easy to use. We also use J-tape and C-chem soft edges. The C-chem comes out of the same factory as the J-tape, really good stuff. We always tape the poly to the floor, and then we utilise our magnetic strips around where we're painting, obviously to keep the poly back on the panel and to stop it floating about, stop possible lifting of what we're spraying and coming back into the job. We also recently started using microfiber cloths as well on as panel wiping. I think Brian from Paint Society put a video up where he'd started using it and said he noticed quite a good improvement in keeping dust down and things, and it just gives a better wipe of the panel. We've tried it and 100% agree. We still use tack cloths as well, but definitely improvements in cleanliness of the job using the microfibers for your panel wiping. So in our paint booth, our setup for our airlines is actually a Wellcome Thermodry, which is a heated airline system. The actual airline has a heating element in it, and it has a heater in the filter system. Using water-based paint, obviously it takes a bit longer to dry, the heated airline. It has many benefits. It speeds up the process no end. We use a Wellcome dryer as well, which you can see me using now. It speeds it up, dries off the base coat, and it just means you can basically paint a lot quicker. It has 3 temperature settings: 42 degrees for spraying your base, 50 degrees for spraying your clear coat, and 70 degrees for drying your base. Now, I'll be honest, the hairline gets too hot to hold on 70 degrees, and I tend to leave it on the 42 degrees that I'm spraying with when I'm drying the paint as well. It still gets quite hot around where you're holding it, even at 42 degrees, and I find it dries it quickly anyway, and obviously it's a nice temperature. You can see now, just as I was drying there, the poly lifting. Again, how I didn't see that when I were actually doing this job, I have no idea. I'm obviously looking where I'm drying and looking where I'm painting, not looking at that top edge. At this point, we've got a couple of coats on. I could see that there was still an area where you could see the edge of the repair through, so I got the sun gun light just to check on it, and did need a bit more base, so I blended a little bit more over it, and we had got good coverage then after, I think it was the 3rd coat. I hear a lot of people complaining about PPG and that the coverage of the colours is not good. I've not had any issues. I find it to be quite good, to be honest. I've only got the Max Mayer to compare it against that I used to use before, so maybe if I used a different brand then I would find it covered better. Before we put any clear on any job we do, we always turn the booth lights off and check with our sunlight, just that coverage is right, the blends are right, the metallic's right, because once you've started putting your lacquer on, there's no going back. You have to seal it in and then obviously do the job again. As it is, if you check it and it's not right, you can do rectification work before wasting materials. There were a few stone chips on the door towards the front edge. Obviously we didn't want to put the base up to that area because then we would have needed to blend into the front door. So we touched them in with an artist brush, and once the job were cleared you couldn't even see where they'd been. Most painters do this, it makes it a lot better than having a white chip or a primer coloured chip on the finished job. Before moving on to the clear coat, we always tack rag the panel to get rid of any overspray base that would show up through the clear coat from the surrounding areas of the repair. You can see on the tack rag when we've finished the red on there that it's picked up off the panel, and that's what you're wanting to remove. So we're on now with the first coat of clear. We're using an Iwata WS400 digital. It's our go-to gun for clear, it's just my preference and works well for me. Same as we use a DeVilbiss for the base coat, we use an Iwata for the clear coat. Some people may find that strange, but it is just what works for us. Now as we're moving up the door with the clear, you'll see at the top the poly lifting. Again, how I didn't see this, I have no idea. But you'll see as we get to the top, I put a lovely coat of lacquer across the window. So at this point we're ready for coat 2 of the clear. We leave 5 minutes to 7 minutes between each coat following the data sheet on the 8131. I have found to now maybe leave it a little bit longer. I go for the 7 minute time rather than the 5, just through experience and using it over the past couple of months. I do come in with a Luma light now and use that just to have a look, make sure that everything's nice on the colour through the first coat of clear. I then put it on my clear gun and plan to use it for the second coat and forget to turn it on. Again, doing the videos, it's quite new to me, so I'm concentrating probably too much on making sure things are filmed right, so making a couple of errors in what I'd usually do quite naturally. As I finish the second coat, I do remember to turn the Luma light on just to check around the edges, make sure we've got nice coverage, make sure the finish is matching what we need for the OEM finish, which it did. It came out absolutely lovely on this one. Again, around 7 minutes flash off time before we put it on bake, and then it's baked for about 45 minutes at 60 degrees. So, let's get in the booth and see how the job turned out. It's not turned out too bad, this one. As you can see, one of the things we like in this shop is the magnetic strips we've got to hold plastic down. Stops it flapping, and I got them a few months ago and I use them on nearly every job now. So at this point I've unmasked it and I've obviously cleaned off the overspray on the window. I need to clean the door off and finish unmasking it, but you can see it's looking quite good. Once we've got it all cleaned off, and you can see down the side, colour match is perfect, blends are good, repair's good. We've fitted the new panel on obviously and changed the lower coloured panel from the old one because that weren't damaged. But as you can see, it's a really, really nice job.